One of the things that's very important to you and I as freight brokers, as business owners, is to get the business off to the best start that you can possibly get off to. Because what happens is, it's going to give you confidence. It's going to give you the confidence that you need, especially early on in your business, that, hey, this is something that you can actually do if you get off to the best start. But if you go and you get off to a very slow start, it may work on your confidence, work against your confidence, and we want to avoid that. So today in this video, I'm going to give you 10 things that you can do, should do as a freight broker to get prepared to get your business off to the best start that you can get it off to. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and let's get down into the business. Okay, first things first. The first thing that I think that you need to do in preparation to start a freight broker business is to understand what you're getting into. Too often people come into freight broker businesses with the wrong expectations, not understanding that you are coming into building a business. This business is not already built. This is something that you have to build from nothing. And in order to do that, it's going to take you putting in the time, dedicating yourself, committing yourself over a period of time to give the time to the business so that you can build it into whatever you wanted to build it to. The important thing to understand is that businesses don't build themselves. Just because you open a business does not mean people come running to your business. They come running to your business after you've made yourself known, after they know that you have a service or a product that they need, and not just because you want them to. Wanting them to is good, but that's just not enough. And don't be fooled by all of the noise. I know we can get the impression sometimes that entrepreneurs never have any problems. They're always excited. They're always having a good time. Money is always flowing. And that's just not the case. There are a lot of things that you have to overcome. And that's the part that you don't see. You don't see the grind phase. You don't see all the work. So I don't want you to be fooled by what's on the surface. I want you to look behind that and understand that there's a lot of work that comes with that. And guess who that work is for? It's for you. And secondly, I want to implore you to start saving money in preparation to get your business started. And notice that I did not say start getting yourself in a position so that you can borrow money. I'm not telling you to go out and borrow any money for a freight brokerage business. Too often people look at that's the start to a business. Oh, I got to go out and get funding. I got to go out and get a loan. But I want to tell you today that's not the start. Definitely not to a freight broker business, because you don't need to go out and get a loan. You see, with a freight broker business, the entry cost is low enough where a loan is not needed. You're going to spend less than $5,000 to get your business up and running. All of your systems in place, everything you need to get started, to start moving loads. So there's no need to go out and get a business loan. If you go out and get a business loan, in my opinion, you often put yourself in a worse position starting a business, because sometimes we have too much money and we start running after things with our money. No need to get a business loan. What you need to do is to get your business set up, get it started, get it going with your own funds. That way, if anything happens with the business, then you say, okay, you fold it up and you put it up and it's done. And you don't have any money to pay back to the bank. So right now, your business is in a phase where it's trying to get out of the hole. It's got to get out of the hole and start making money. So don't put it in a deeper hole by going and borrowing money. Go in and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to save this amount of money. I'm going to get my business started. And then I'm going to focus on making money, not going out and borrowing money. And third up, what we want to talk about is the decision that you have to make. And I think that this decision should be made prior to you ever getting started in your business. Being very serious about this is, number one, deciding how much time are you going to put into your business. Number two, deciding whether it's going to be a full-time venture or a part-time venture. The reason why I want you to think about how much time, regardless of whether it's a full-time or part-time venture, how much time you're going to put into it, is because that's probably the number one factor that decides whether you're going to be successful or not. How much time are you going to put into it? Out of a 24-hour day, how many hours are you going to give to your business consistently? I know some of you can't do it every single day, but you really need to understand the hours commitment that you are going to make. Because the one thing that I can promise you, that if you don't commit the time, if you do not give your business the time that it needs, you will not be successful. And I don't know how much time you'll need. You'll have to decide that. I know for me, when I first started my freight broker business, I was spending 12 to 16 hours a day at the very beginning. Why is that? Because I didn't know anything about it and I had to learn what I needed to know in order to make money. All right, number 4, we want to talk about checking your personal credit. I think it's a good idea that you check your personal credit before you start your freight broker business and ensure that you have a 680 credit score and above. If you have 680 and above, usually you are going to get offered the best bond rates. When I say best bond rates, to me, a bond that's cost $2,500 and below to get started with is a solid rate. When they're more than that, then to me that becomes a situation where it becomes unsustainable. When you have a $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, even $8,000 a year bond rates, that's not sustainable. I would highly suggest that you go in, take a look at that credit, find out if you need to repair the credit. If so, go ahead and repair your credit and then reapply for your bond. Also, you may have issues with freight factoring companies if you don't have solid credit. So that's another reason why you want to make sure that your credit is shored up before you ever get started in your freight broker business. And also remember that with a freight broker business, being a business owner, period, you're going to need solid, decent credit. So coming into a business, the thought should be in your mind, if my credit is not squared away, I have to do what's necessary to get good credit because it's going to benefit me in the long run. Number 5, don't look for support. I know that might sound a little bit off. Surely I would be looking for support. Why would I not look for support? Well, let me give you a reason why you shouldn't even worry about finding somebody to support what it is that you're doing. Because most times you won't find that person. You're not going to find a person that says, hey, I understand what it is that you're going through. I'm right there with you every step of the way. I'm going to help you through this and help you through that. That's usually not going to happen. Don't waste time with that. The person that you should be looking to help you is within you. It's you. You have to make it happen. This is your business. This is your baby. This is your idea. So you can't expect for somebody else to understand that until you actually get something going. Now, when you get something going, then you have a lot of people that want to support you. But in the early times, don't expect that people are going to run in to support you. Don't expect even your spouse, people that are close to you, to understand what it is that you're doing. Because right now, you probably really don't have a real good idea of what it is that you're doing. Things have to start to come together. You have to get a clear picture of what it is that you're doing, and then you can start to articulate that to other people. Most times when we first get started, we think that we are articulating a clear vision to someone else, but it's very cloudy. They have a lot of questions. Some of those questions you can't answer yet. So look for you for the support, because that's where your support will come, at least the best of it. And number 6, something that I definitely think that you need to think about is how you're going to pay your receivables. How do you pay carriers? Because freight brokers are ultimately responsible for paying carriers once that carrier delivers the load. So how do you do that? There are a couple of choices that you have. You can do it on your own, through your own cash flow, or you can use a freight factoring company, which 95% of new freight brokers will use. Because that is going to allow for you to concentrate on moving freight and not have to worry about how you're going to pay for that freight. I highly suggest that you think about this. How are you going to pay for loads before you ever get started? Talk to factoring companies, see what is required in order for you to get set up. Let them check your credit if they require to check your credit. And if they say you're good to go. If they say you need to make some adjustments, go ahead and make those adjustments before you get started. So when you do start, you're ready to go. And number 7, since we're already talking about the factoring company, let's go ahead and start asking some key questions to that factoring company about establishing credit. Because you and I as freight brokers, we have to have credit in order to move loads more seamlessly. If you don't have good credit, it's going to be harder to move loads. So since we have the factoring company on the phone, and this is the agency that actually grants credit, then it would be a good idea for us to ask them, how do I establish credit as a freight brokerage? What do you suggest that I do? How do you rate freight brokers? How do you help freight brokers to build credit? The reason why we want to ask this is because if the factoring company is the entity that actually rates a freight broker, then of course they should probably have a best way to go out and get your credit established. So we want to talk with them about that instead of going somewhere else asking random questions. Let's just ask it to the people who's actually evaluating our credit. And number 8, we have to decide what type of entity we're going to set up. This is something that we should be taking a look at before we start our businesses. We should be talking to professionals about starting an LLC as compared to starting a sole prop. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Yes, we know that if we start an LLC, it gives us certain protections, protects our personal assets. And something that you might not know is that if you start an LLC, you also have to file a separate tax return for the LLC. So the question is, do you really need an LLC right now, or would it be better for you to go with a sole prop? Here is the big thing to me. A lot of times people jump out and they start LLCs and they stay in business for about 6 months and then it's done. So you've spent all of this money to start an LLC and you didn't stay in business long enough to reap any benefits. So I would highly suggest taking a look at that, talking with some professionals like your CPA, your tax professional, to decide which is the best route for you. Don't just go LLC because that's what you see everybody else do, because it might not be the best decision for you. And number 9, I want you to read business books, particularly books about people who've actually gone through the fire, who've actually built businesses, and now what they've done is left a manual for you to be able to go through and walk through their experience and learn from that experience. Books like Steve Jobs, the autobiography of Steve Jobs, an excellent book, shows you exactly what Steve Jobs went through, all the obstacles he faced, how he overcame those obstacles, his experience, his walk. That's a wonderful book to get started in. Another one is Jim Collins, Good to Great. It's going to show you about what separates good businesses from great businesses. I want you to start reading these books to learn not just about their experience, but to learn about business and how business works. Because when we learn how business works, when we understand it, we can better shape our expectations. And last but not least, number 10, you must have the right mindset. Come into this business with a positive mindset. Train your mind to think positively and think positively all the time. Because the alternative is you think negative. And who wants to be a negative person? Who wants to be around a negative person? Not very many people. And always remember this. Keep this at the forefront of your mind. Whether you think you can or think you cannot, either way, you're right. So that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Please like, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss anything.
If you want to learn more about the freight broker business, I'll leave my free link in the description. It's my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It will give you a look into the freight broker business, let you see how it works. That way you can check it out before you come into it. And then if you want to learn more about the load board, how we search for trucks, post our loads, and use the load board as a rate sourcing tool, I'll leave a free tutorial right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.